Hello. Welcome to. Actually, I have forgotten which stream is this. This is part 6 of the kind of weird, exquisite corpse style streaming project that I'm doing with Jan Sesnick, where each week we stream ourselves gradually implementing more and more of the audio for this strange Unity project. So I figure what I'll probably do to begin with is I'll just have a run through the game, just to refresh everybody about where we're at. I have, I think, two main things that I want to do this time round. I'll get to them as we get through this. So I know that one of the things Jan added was these stepping stones now act kind of like piano keys, in that they, as long as you're stood on them, they just kind of continue playing, which is cool. And then I think the big changes he made last time are in the next scene. Once again, I am not sharing my screen, I'm sorry. One of these weeks I'm going to remember to switch what I'm showing on stream. Okay. So then, let's see, the first thing he added was these stones now play chords, and also if I keep talking, yeah, we get a bit of audio input. It's quite quiet, which is kind of like, it feels appropriately spooky. It might be quite quiet because I tend to talk quite quietly. Oh yeah. If I make more noise, then yes, it becomes a lot louder. Yeah. Okay. So the big thing I did last week was I added a bit of occlusion to Barbalith's audio. So if I go behind this wall, we hear it. Basically, all I'm doing is applying a low-pass filter to kind of mimic the effect of a sound being muffled by some kind of obstruction. But one of the things I want to try and add this week is, you can see here, we can actually see a bit of Barbalith, but we're not. The amount of audio we're hearing has not changed. It's the same whether Barbalith is completely occluded versus if it's slightly occluded. And that's because what I'm doing to test whether Barbalith is occluded is I'm only testing whether myself as the player has a direct line to the centre of Barbalith. So at the moment, the centre of Barbalith is occluded by this wall, and if I move over, it becomes unoccluded. Anyway, that's something I want to fix this stream. Because it's a bit weird if I kind of do this. Oh, in fact, something weird's happened here. It's not occluding. This column. Oh, weird. To be honest, this may be a problem with the way I modelled this church in Blender. I'm not a 3D modeler, and I had some issues making this. But yeah, basically, like if I can see this much of Barbalith, I feel like I should be able to hear it fairly loud, and I'd like to have some kind of like gradation between completely occluded and not occluded at all. Like I'd like it to kind of blend depending on how much of Barbalith I see. So that's one thing I want to add. I'm also going to fix the fact that if you go here, even though we can no longer see Barbalith, the code thinks we can, so we hear it at kind of full volume, which that needs to be fixed. But that's one thing I want to fix this week. The second thing I want to fix is something that came up in Jan's stream last week, which was the way that I've coded this makes it almost impossible for us to, or it makes it very hard for us to like move the player or to jump between scenes, because basically what happens, in fact, if I run this and then switch to the scene view, the way I'm doing this is basically whenever the player's in one area, I just deactivate all the other areas, to kind of save me having to like put up big walls between all of these areas and hide the other things, which is a wee bit, it's a wee bit hacky, but I don't know. But the consequence of this is that I can't just grab the player and like move it over here, because if I do that, this space does not exist when the game starts. So the player will just fall infinitely into the void, and we don't want that. So the first thing I want to do this week is I want to implement some debug commands that just let us jump to each of these scenes, so that we don't have to run through the whole game just to get to the end and test how the end audio is working. So, okay, I guess I'm just going to explain what I'm doing so that it's a bit clearer. This stream is probably going to be quite programming heavy, I'm afraid, because I guess that's what I'm interested in for this week. But let's see. So the way this code is or the way this scene is set up is every object, like let's say like void 1. So this space here. Every object like this has a deactivate on start script, which if I switch over to Visual Studio, is a really, really simple script. All it does is as soon as the game starts, or as soon as the game object is created, I just disable it basically. So that way, when we're kind of playing about in the editor, we can see all the scenes and we can kind of play with them, and we don't have to like go up here and like disable it before we run the game. We can just have these scripts and it automatically disables them when the game starts, which is really useful again because of the way I've built this, which just has everything right next to each other in one scene, and hides things rather than like creating walls to kind of block things off. But yeah, so what I need to do, what I'd like to have is like a debug command. So like if you press, let's say if you press 1, you jump to this scene, 2 to here, 3 to here, 4, 5, 6, 7 over here. But if I want to do that, I need to basically play with, or I need to make use of the teleportation stuff that I've got at the moment, which basically teleports players from one section to another. So if we look at this, we look at the first door. Here is, in fact, let me switch over to debug, physics debug. So this is the trigger volume. So that when the player enters this, it triggers this teleport on enter script, which teleports the player to these coordinates. And the teleport on enter script I coded so that you can set it to do other things as well as teleporting you. So I'm just using Unity events, which give you a fairly kind of straightforward UI for hooking up a bit of code to trigger an infinite number of other bits of code. So when the player enters this door, we actually have 5 things that happen. So the first thing that happens is the player gets teleported to these new coordinates. Actually, that's probably the last thing that happens. That happens at the end. The first thing that actually happens is we set the sky color to black. So I've got a script that basically just, if we look at the main camera, I've got a script that all it does is it changes this background color. So I've got the skybox set to just be a solid color, which is white here, is red for this one, and then black for the kind of void scenes. Yeah, sorry, if I scroll down, I have the set sky color script, which literally just sets this background variable. And so that's the first thing that happens when the player enters this door. The second thing that happens is we activate the void 1 objects. So we activate all of this, and then we deactivate intro, so this section here. We Also, we activate Barbalith, which is the kind of red ball that kind of recurs throughout the game, and it's kind of separate from, you can see in the hierarchy, most of this, most of the like root of the hierarchy is just like the individual like sections. But Barbalith, because Barbalith reappears throughout different sections, it's its own object. So we can't just rely on activating Void 1 in order to activate Barbalith. We have to activate Barbalith separately. Anyway, sorry, this is a lot of explanation. But once it's done all that, it then teleports the player to these new coordinates. And because we've activated Void 1, the player has something to stand on and doesn't immediately just fall into the void. And basically every one of these like sections, they all have their own kind of teleport and enter script that teleports the player to the next section, which maybe makes things a wee bit more complicated for me if I'm wanting to create a debug script, because really what I want to do is I want to excuse me, I want to trigger everything that happens in the teleport enter script for each of these spaces. So you can see if I go to void 1, there's there's different things that happen when the player enters this particular trigger volume. And I don't want to have to kind of redo all of that from scratch just for the debug commands. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to create another script that I'm just going to add to the player game object. And I am going to, in that script, I'm going to actually call the individual teleport on enter scripts for each of these kind of trigger volumes. I think that's the way to do it, to do this. Yes. So let's create that script. So this is going to be, let's call it debug teleport. And if we come over to Visual Studio, now, okay, so this is my teleport on enter script. Yep, so all we do is we teleport the player to the new destination, and then we trigger any of those Unity events that are set up in the inspector. So, like, let's open debug teleport. I don't need start. Let's see. So I'll need to track the player object. So I can just grab the transform for that. So this is the thing that we're going to move about whenever the player teleports. And then I'm going to need, oh, well, actually, I just need an array of these teleport and enter classes, right? Because all I want to do is when the player presses a number key, I want to effectively do this stuff, right? I want to do all of this stuff. And I can do that easily because I have the relevant information. These are public variables, so I can just grab these in this other script. So now I need to, you know what, I need to remind myself how Unity handles input. I always forget this. In fact, I don't need to look that up. I have other code that will show me player movement. So what I'm looking for is input dot, is it dot button? Input dot get button, oh. Actually, no, maybe I do need to look this up. Let's find out. Because I think I'd rather, the get button command gets, it tells you if the player is pressing a key or a button that has been bound to Unity's key bindings. Because in Unity you can like define like the jump button and then have the players change that value. For debug commands though, I don't really want to do that. I don't really care about doing that. So I'm just going to kind of skip the key binding stage, and I'm just going to directly grab the key itself. And actually, let's see, what I really want is I want to be told when the key is pressed and when the key is initially pressed. I don't want to. So I think this function is going to tell me if the key is currently up or down. But that means because we're going to be checking this in the update function, we're going to be checking that 60 frames per second, which potentially means that we're going to accidentally like re-trigger our teleportation multiple times before the user lets go of the key. So what I really want is something like, is there a function that tells me if a key has recently been pressed? Oh, get key down, there is. This is what I'm looking for. Cool, so let's close you. And we're going to do if see, now I'm wondering if I should let the player or let the designer link a particular key to a particular. No, you know what? Doesn't matter. I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to do is input.get key down, and we're going to do 1. Then let's see. I think we probably want that. And what am I wanting to do here? So actually, sorry, yes, come back here. So I think what we're going to say is, I don't think we need to teleport to the first scene. We always start in the first scene, so I don't think we need to worry about that, but it would be nice to be able to teleport to everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say void 1, that's scene 1. So I did kind of arrange these in a bit of a strange way, because we go here to here to here to here to here to here to here. Anyway, that's fine. So if I come back here, so if input.getKeyDown 1, so if the player has pressed the 1 key in this frame, then we want to what do we want to do? We want to, well, we want to do this, right? This is what we want to do. It'll be slightly different, but in this case, it will be something like this. And then it will be teleports 0. So the first entry in our teleports array. And again, the same here. I think that's all I need to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly test that. And let's see. So I need to grab my player object. I need to add my debug teleport script to it. And then we need to set this up. So I'm going to add a player transform. I'm just going to create one element of the array. And for this one, I need to grab the teleport on enter script, or the object, teleport on enter object from void 1, which is this object here. Okay. And if I start and then hit 1, hopefully this is all going to work. Oh, what did I do? What did I? Oh, okay. Okay, so I know what I've done wrong. So what I was thinking was I wanted to grab the teleport on enter script from here. But that's not what I want to do, because if I do that, then what happens is I actually trigger this teleporter, which actually teleports the player back to here. So what I did there was I grabbed the wrong teleport collider when the one I actually wanted was this one. There we go. Okay, so this is working. So all I need to do now is just add the extra keys. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double check how many like areas I have. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to use all of the key inputs up to 7. And you know what? I'm gonna make this a wee bit clearer. I'm gonna get rid of that. Put it down here. I'm going to do if index is greater than -1, then do all this because we don't need to recreate all that code. Oh, I'm thinking in C++ terms. Sorry, that's what I should have done there. And then the keyboard, like the key down if statement is we just set index to that value. Think it feels like there should be an easier way to link the key. I'm sure there's a cleaner way of doing this, but this is the way I'm doing it. Yeah, right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I think. So yeah, so all we're doing, like if any of these keys get pressed, we set index to that value, and then in that case, we just run this code using index as the index into our teleports array. Okay. So, right, I need to grab, well, I need to do this. So we've got an array of 7 actually, not 1. And yeah, and now I need to go through and make sure that we set the correct ones. So here we go. Oh, and helpfully I've named them all the same, so I can't actually see I can't actually see that I've done them all in order. So this is going to be fun. So we go intro to void 1 to interlude 1. And I think each of these have doors that you enter, which is helpful. To void 2, door. Yep. So this is element 3. All right. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is element 4. Oh, that's not what I meant. So element 4. Element 5. This big door. So element 5. Oh, and then lastly, this one will be element 6. Okay, let's see if I've got that right. So what I should be able to do now is I should be able to press the keys in sequence, just jump through the level. And wait, well, something's not working. Where's Barbalith? Okay. Let me try that again. Okay, so jump to the first one, jump to the second one, and then I wonder if Barbalith is maybe not getting resized or something. Like maybe we're kind of skipping some vital steps. What does it look like when we come in here? Oh, it doesn't even trigger when we're in here. That's a bit of a problem. So what have I missed? I jump to there and there. Does this change? don't think anything's changing, huh? Okay, so what? So I'm clearly missing some trigger from void 1. Let's see what happens in void 1. We have the fall trigger. So this is, I think this is the first Barbalith script. So this might be the one that's kind of causing problems. Let's see. So I think maybe the mesh renderer isn't enabled unless we actually trigger it. So, okay, I'm just going to kind of do some slightly hacky things here. I'm just going to, so that happens if that should happen if we teleport to the second stage. And I am just going to grab this stuff. And then I think we need to check that there aren't more, there is another Barbalith script actually, isn't there? Barbalith Rise, so that might also be doing something, so let's check that one. Oh, okay, so we do this. Oh yeah, there's some things happening here. So that's probably quite important. Barbalith Rise. I don't think we would need to worry about the position because I think Barbalith gets teleported once we leave this section. We probably do need to, or actually I don't know that we need to set the scale. Or maybe we do. Let's set the scale. So when this is finished, the scale is 4. So let's set the scale there. We'll trigger. Nope. Let's just set the scale to 4. Nope, that's not how you do that. Vector 3. That work? Nope. How do you set scale again? Oh, that should be a new vector. No, what am I doing wrong? Is that? Okay, that's weird. Okay, so I need to make sure that I hook up Barbalith to my debug teleport script. Here we go. So what I want to see now is if I teleport to this red room directly instead of running through this scene, does Barbalith appear correctly when we reach the church? I think it should, but I might have missed something. Oh, I was going to teleport, wasn't I? So okay, if I teleport to here, what happens to Barbalith in the next room? There we go. Okay, so that fixes that. Let's just keep teleporting, so it doesn't appear there. It does appear here, and that works. Okay. Okay, so debug script is finally working. That took a bit more work than I was hoping, but that's partly my own fault for not kind of designing the code in a more helpful manner. But what that means is that now when it comes to testing the stuff that we're doing in each of these areas, we can just hit the number keys to quickly jump to that point, which is really, really helpful. Wait, actually, let me just quickly check one more thing. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, okay, it does a bit of a weird jump, but that's fine. This is just for debugging. Okay. Okay, so I didn't mean to spend half an hour on that, but it was quite an important thing. If you're doing a lot of debugging in a project, you don't want to have to run through the entirety of that project just to get to the bit that you want to test. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make my barbalith occlusion script a bit more robust. So actually the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump down here and let me switch to wireframe. Is that easier to see? So what's happening at the moment is Unity is not treating the area or the ground from here to the door as an occluding volume. So Unity just kind of treats that as though there's nothing between the player when the player stood here and barbalith when it's kind of up here. So the way I'm going to fix this is I'm going to I think I'm just going to add easier to see. Kind of it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's kind of hard to see what I want to do, but I think I'm just going to add a cube in here. So this is void 2, and we're in the church. So let's add a cube to kind of block off the ceiling. Okay. Got cube up here, and what I want to check the floor. No, floor. Or I've forgotten how I built this. What am I looking at here? Wow. I think this ground 1. Okay, right. So sorry, I just wanted to check like where the ground was. So ground is at 0 on the y-axis. So my cube that I've just added down here, I want it to basically be slightly below 0, so that the player isn't likely to kind of accidentally like collide with it when they're walking along the ground on the top. But I also want it to be fairly thin because I don't want it to, I don't want them to bump their head on it when they're walking below it. So okay, so this is that's probably thin enough. So I want to move it down by, I think, oh, that's up. I want to move it down by that. I think that'll mean it's slightly below the ground. It's really hard to visualize things when you're relying on wireframes, but I think that'll mean that it's below the ground and it's thin enough that the player's not going to collide with it. That should be good. So now I just need to resize it on the X and Z axes. And oh, this is confusing. Why are these axes at 45 degrees? I do. Oh, weird. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's make it super wide. Is that too wide? That's maybe wider than it needs to be. That's probably good. Oh, actually, hang on. Make it 9. And if I move it 1, no. Okay, so that should cover when the player is below here. Yeah, so the kind of sarcophagus is here, and that blocks barbalith. And then this should block barbalith when the player's here. I'm going to switch back to shaded because I'm not entirely sure what my cube looks like. Oh, cube is invisible. Let me just put the actual material on here just in case. Right, okay, so now I want to test this. I want to make sure that when I am stood right in front of the door, I don't hear barbalith, or like I hear like a lower filtered version of barbalith. Barbalith there? Oh, this is weird. I thought that was such a simple fix, but it's... Okay, if I come to see... Oh! Okay. Wait, what is happening here? What are we looking at? Barbalith. So... Barbalith has some kind of sphere collector, which is bigger than Barbalith itself. So which is this? That's this sphere collector. What's this one? Okay. So I think what's happening... Yes, that's exactly what's happening. So it wasn't that I had... So, okay, sorry. The problem was not that I did not have a cube here kind of blocking the ceiling. The problem is that Barbalith actually has a collision volume that is set to be bigger than itself. There, you can see it there when I turn on the physics debugger. And I'm going to assume that... So first of all, this is something that I did. So I'm going to assume that the reason I did this was that I played with the radius of this sphere collider, so that when the player is kicking it, when the player is kicking the Barbalith at the beginning, it feels more natural. Now I need to figure out, okay, how do I actually... Because clearly deactivating it doesn't, like, it deactivates it as far as the player is concerned in terms of like walking into Barbalith, but it doesn't deactivate it for the purposes of raycasting, which is what I'm using to figure out whether Barbalith should be occluded or not. So, well, I guess what I could do is I could just set the radius of the sphere, of this sphere collider, in code to be 0 once we reach the church. That's probably the simplest solution, right? So that'll be Barbalith rise trigger. So I'm going to, let's see, switch over here. Let's close a bunch of this stuff. Don't care about most of this. I want Barbalith. Wait, what was it? Oh, Barbalith church rise. And yeah, I'm going to grab a reference to our sphere collider. Does that make sense? Because I think we've got two... Oh, let's check. Let me check. Do we have two? I've got a feeling we've got... Yeah, we've got two sphere colliders on Barbalith. One of them is acting as a trigger, and one of them is acting as basically a physics object. So it's treating... and you can see I've got a kind of a special physics material so that Barbalith bounces when it hits something. But that's only useful in this first section. So yeah, so we need to actually grab this specific sphere collider and make sure we're not grabbing the trigger one, because we might be using the trigger one for something else. Can't remember. So yeah, so we're just gonna, just call it collider, and then let's say on trigger. We'll do it in on trigger enter. Collider.radius equals 0. Okay. So this is rise trigger, and then how do I actually grab? Oh, I can grab it here, can't I? So we grab Barbalith. Wait, no. How do I grab the specific sphere collider that I care about? Let's switch that back to none. Can I grab this? No. Surely Unity has a solution. I do this? No. How do I... Like, why does this only give me... How do I do this? Oh, sorry, I just saw the chat. First thing I did was... sorry, I don't know when you posted that. I'll just quickly show you. First thing I did was I added debug keys. So we can now teleport between the different sections, like this. Because that seemed really important. And now I'm trying to fix the kind of occlusion stuff with Barbalith. I'm running into a weird issue where I don't know how to grab. So sorry, this is probably my fault for like I have two sphere colliders on the Barbalith object. One that's acting as a kind of basic physics collision collider, and one that is acting as a trigger. Now what I want to do is I want to, in my script, I want to kill the radius of the physics collider, but I don't know how to grab the specific sphere collider so that I can put it into this object here. Surely Unity, like surely the devs thought that people might have multiple components of a single type on a single game object. Why? Okay, I'm gonna see if I can figure this out from Google. So Unity. Is this going to help me? Is this going to bring up anything? Ah, maybe. No, that's not what I want. Ah, here we go. I love this. Why do you want two wheel joints? Because you have two wheels on the car. Yes, that makes sense. And then, oh, this is I honestly hate that comment. Like, just tell people the answer. Don't, like, sometimes people have reasons for wanting to do the thing they say they want to do. Don't just argue with them. Just, if you don't have the solution, don't. Anyway, I'm getting entirely distracted. So I guess there's like get components. I guess I could do that instead. Let's try that. So it would be and then actually let me look at the documentation for this. Sorry, this is a very coding heavy stream. So what does this do? Does it return them in order? Oh no. Thanks Unity. This one. So I just wanted to know if I call get components sphere collider, it's going to return this sphere collider and this sphere collider. But is it going to return them in this order? Like, is this one always going to be the first one? That seems like something that would be really useful to know in the documentation. well, okay, well, we can give it a shot. So if I do this dot, wait, oh, yeah, okay. Okay, and then we do call dot radius equals 0.0f. So hopefully, I guess we're going to find out. So yeah, so what I want to find out is this going to correctly affect the specific sphere collider I want it to affect? Is this the right place? It is. So I hope this happens. Oh wait, sorry. I need to actually trigger it, don't I? So when I trigger Barbalith, I want to see that radius number change. Okay. Okay, and now I think once I go underneath, I should no longer hear the occlusion system breaking when I get close to the door. Oh, what's happening? Why can I hear Barbalith? Hang on. Oh, wait. Is that the wrong collider? I mean, this collider? I chose the wrong collider. I meant the second collider. So, sorry, if you missed that bit, the reason we hear Barbalith at full volume when we're here is because apparently, for whatever reason, I have this sphere collider is significantly bigger than Barbalith itself, and it goes below the ground. So when I do that occlusion raycast, sorry, stop that. When I do that occlusion raycast, it's testing against the wrong. It's testing against that collider. So actually, I think I can fix this by just changing this to 1. Sorry, this is like a super technical stream, and I've not even got to this to do the stuff that I was planning on doing this stream, which I might not get to now. In fact, I'm going to close some of these. So this is the number we want to watch, because I want to see that going to 0. There we go. Okay. Okay, that was entirely too much work, but it's done now. And yeah, okay, I don't know that I have enough time to do what I wanted to do, what I actually wanted to do. But I'm just going to explain. I'm just going to explain what I want to do, and we might get to actually do it in my next stream. So basically, at the moment, the problem is if this is the player, let me change that. So if this is the player, and this is Barbalith, then what we're currently doing to handle the occlusion is we basically draw a line between center of the player to center of Barbalith. Let's give that a color, better color, and make it bigger. So we basically draw a line, and as long as nothing hits that line before we reach Barbalith, we know that we can see that we are, like, Barbalith is not occluded. But the moment we stick something in the way, this is a terrible color scheme, I'm sorry. Then the line that we're casting hits this block and tells us I didn't hit Barbalith, I hit this wall, so that we know, okay, Barbalith is behind something. But the problem with this is, sorry, I'm going to change these colors. these colors are distractingly ugly. Let's make this one white. That's a bit better. But the problem is, because we're only testing against the center of Barbalith, if Barbalith is slightly hidden, so for instance, if we got a wall that's very close to Barbalith and it covers kind of half of Barbalith, then the problem is our raycast thinks that Barbalith is behind this wall. But actually, from our perspective, we can still see almost half of Barbalith. So from our perspective, Barbalith should be a bit quieter, but it shouldn't be like fully quiet. It should be we kind of want our occlusion system, or I want my occlusion system to like work in kind of gradations. So I think the way to get around this is, rather than just casting one ray to the center of Barbalith, I think the way to do it is actually to cast multiple rays. Oh, this is going to be a pain, isn't it? Multiple rays to... Oh. Why is it doing that? Multiple rays to kind of corners around the edge of Barbalith. So I do like something like this. I'm probably getting a wee bit distracted by making this diagram make sense, but that's fine. So if we do something like this, and then we can test each of these rays, and we can kind of return a value between 0 and 1, but a value between 0 and 1 that is made up of all of these rays. So for instance, if one of the rays is occluded, then we'd be returning 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, hang on, maths. So we've got 5. Oh, I am regretting doing this on a black background. So we've got 5 rays total. We've got 5 rays total. So when Barbalith is completely out in the open, we're basically returning, we can return a value of 5, say, but if Barbalith is kind of partially occluded, so maybe there's a wall kind of here, then we would be returning 2 rays, right? And we could turn down the amount of occlusion so that we're not kind of fully occluded, but we are partially occluded. Yeah, so that's what I want to do. I want to kind of modify my code so that instead of just checking against the center of Barbalith, I have multiple rays that check around the edges of Barbalith, but should give a more complete view of how occluded Barbalith is. So it's not just like an on-off, Barbalith is occluded, Barbalith isn't occluded. It's more of a kind of gradual thing, right? Hopefully. Okay, I don't know that I have time to actually implement this. I'll make a start, but I'm probably going to stop soon. So let's see. So first of all, let's see. So we've got a bunch of so at the moment we've got a single raycast, and we have this occluded value, which I think I need to change this. So what I'm actually going to do to begin with is I'm going to flip this around. So for every ray that hits Barbalith, we're going to add 1 to occluded. And then at the end of this, so hang on, how many rays do we want? Let's move some of this a wee bit. So, I'm going to say, in fact, I probably want to keep this first one, because the first one's a bit different in that the first one is always going to be the center. But after that, I want to basically kind of loop around the edge of Barbalith. So I guess I'll use a for loop. 16? Is that sensible? I don't know. My fingers are not quite paying attention. So, okay, so we're going to do the same thing again 16 times, looping around the edge of the sphere. And then once we've done that, we're going to divide occluded by 17, because 16 plus this initial center one. And then I think our PD patch is actually expecting occluded to be 1 means it is occluded, 0 means it's not. So we need to then flip this around. Like that. And okay, so the next thing, I'm going to grab this. So we're just going to grab the exact same code I've written. Now the tricky thing here is that I don't want it to be, so Barbalith position, that's the center of Barbalith. So what I actually want to do is I want to calculate the spherical, or the circular position around the edges of Barbalith. And this is where I probably need more time to figure out the maths than I have. Let's say, I'll just call it pause. So, well, I guess pause will start off Barbalith position, right? So we'll start, so pause, we'll start from the center of Barbalith, and then we want to calculate the position. Oh, what's this complaining about? Oh, I don't think I need to redeclare that. I think I can get away without doing that. So pause, we start from the start position, and then we calculate, we basically just calculate a circle around that. Yeah. Now the thing, in fact, I might do this. Oh yeah. Now the thing that the part of this that's going to confuse me is the maths. So I know the maths to find the points of a circle. Problem here is that we're in 3D. So although from the player's perspective, they're looking at Barbalith, and Barbalith is always a circle. The position values we're dealing with are 3D, so it won't be like positions on X and Y. It'll be some combination of X, Y, and Z, depending on where the player is relative to Barbalith. Which I think I'm going to stop there. I'm going to come back to the complicated 3D maths problem for my next stream. I'm just going to double check that I've not broken anything. I don't think I have. I think I've basically just made a more complicated version of my previous code that does the exact same thing significantly less efficiently, but that's fine because we're coming back to change this stuff. Let me just check that this actually still works. That's an important warning. Let me just quickly fix that. I need to get rid of this. I'm not using that anymore. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly check that the occlusion still works, so that I've not accidentally broken things so that it's less pleasant for Jan to kind of play with. Okay, that seems to work. Also, just to kind of demonstrate what I was talking about, the occlusion being very on-off. You can see here, like here we can see bits of Barbalith, but we hear it as though it's like completely occluded. And then there's kind of weird things where we're kind of going very on-off between fully occluded and not occluded at all, which I would like to change. But yeah, so this seems okay. So this seems to be working, and I will save the math. That probably isn't difficult to an actual mathematician, but is definitely a wee bit too difficult for me to do in the final minutes of this stream. We'll save that for 2 weeks' time. Okay. So thank you for watching. I'm sure Jan will be back next week to do more interesting things and less like technical codey things. And I will see you myself in 2 weeks' time. Okay, goodbye.